guys, Fafner here. Today I have a battle of a mono normal versus mono electric. My opponent is the new electric brain Blake Beamer in Poketown Battle Frontier. I encourage all competitive battlers to join that Facebook group, a link to which should be on the screen in an annotation just about now. Blake is bringing his Electros, Zapdos, Raikou, Rotom Wash, Ampharos and Stunfisk, whereas I am bringing my Diggersby, Lopunny, Meloetta, Porygon-Z, Chansey and Furfrou. That all said, let's jump right into the battle. So Blake is starting out with his Stunfisk, which is frankly actually the lead I expected, because I thought his Stunfisk would have Stealth Rocks. I lead with my Diggersby, and I kick off with a Sword Sense. I actually thought he would go for a Stealth Fox right away, but instead he goes for the Scald, with which he luckily doesn't burn me. Now I choose to go for an Earthquake here, but he switches to Zapdos, which is actually something I should have seen coming if it was just too obvious, but I went for the Earthquake regardless, wasted it. And after that I switched out Diggersby to my Chansey, who can of course easily tank the hit, but he directly switches out Zapdos again back to Stunfisk, presumably because he wanted to set those Stealth Rocks. Now I go for the Seismic Toss here because, like any Chansey, has a very high special bulk, and I thought his Stunfisk would never have anything but special type moves. Now it does turn out to have a Rocky Helmet here, and it does set the Stealth Rocks. As for the static that paralyzed me, it doesn't even really bother me because Chansey has Natural Cure anyway. So he goes for the Earth Power and gets the special defense drop, and I go for the Wish because I know he still won't do any damage, special defense drop or not. He goes for the Scald. He might have predicted a switch here, I'm not sure. Anyway, I go for another Seismic Toss, and I get my I'm hurt, but I get all my HP back through the Wish I set. Now Blake switches out his Stunfisk here for his Electros, which is obviously for me a physical attacker. Now I get paralyzed here, which is for me a real shame because I actually went for the Seismic Toss. He starts off by knocking off my Eviolite to drop my defenses, and luckily I do not get paralyzed. I get my counter down, nearly killing Electros, which is really too bad. Now I have to take this another Drain Punch, I have to risk another paralysis, but luckily enough I do not get fully paralyzed. I get my counter and I can kill Electros this turn. So that is one physical threat out of the way for Chansey in the future. Now he switches out to his Ampharos here, and I actually predict his Ampharos to be a Mega one with agility. Now that's Mega is the obvious, the agility was my actual prediction. So he goes Mega here, and he does end up using agility, so I actually make a good switch because my Meloetta knows Dazzling Gleam, and after Ampharos goes Mega, it gains the Dragon type, so I get the super effective hit on it, which does over half damage. Now thanks to my Assault Vest, this Thunderbolt, I can easily get 2 Thunderbolts and 2 Dazzling Gleams for that. So I eliminate his Ampharos as well, which is another offensive threat out of the way. And here he switches to his Raikou, and at this point I realized that my Meloetta will be kind of useless, but at the same time I thought he might go for a Thunderbolt or a Volt Switch, so I switched into my Diggersby. However, he predicted this switch for me, and instead of the Thunderbolt he goes for Aura Sphere. So I lose my Diggersby, but it doesn't really matter because I thought of this situation and I didn't really need Diggersby. I could have kept it, but it wasn't necessary. So here I switched to my Lopunny. On this switch, Blake decides to switch his Raikou for his Stunfisk, probably because he didn't want to get hit by the obvious fake out from Lopunny. So I indeed go Mega, and I end up using my fake out. Now, of course, I still know his Stunfisk has Rocky Helmet, so at this point I wasn't sure if this high jump kick would kill it, but it does. Now, later Blake told me he wasn't sure if this high jump kick would kill him either, and if it wouldn't, he would have used Called on Me for a burn. Now here he switches back to Raikou, and I'm still not sure if his Raikou is either with Assault Vest or with a Choice Scarf. I assume the worst here, which would be that he has a Choice Scarf and he would be faster. So I switch into my Meloetta, and also due to these Stealth Rocks I literally sack it at this point, but I don't think I could have even survived the Aura Sphere, even with my Assault Vest. Now I switch right back into Lopunny, and I actually thought that he would stay in, but he doesn't. He switches to Zapdos here, which is his other physical build aside from Stunfisk. Now I go for the fake out. I actually did this for Raikou to get some chip damage, because if he would be scarfed, then fake out would still have the priority. At this point I knew that a return would be stronger, but I went for the Ice Punch anyway, because I knew there was this very small chance to freeze Zapdos, and I thought this Thunderbolt would kill me, but I somehow survived with 2 HP, and this is pretty much when the hacks really starts. I survive with 2 HP, I obviously get another Ice Punch down and get rid of his Zapdos. At this point he switches back to Raikou, and I don't have my fake out anymore, so I'm like, well, you know, perhaps it's still that Assault Vest. I'm still not certain, but it shows out he doesn't have Assault Vest, he has a Choice Scarf, so he's faster than me. He goes for the Volt Switch here, and he switches to his Rotom Wash. Well, I will switch to my Furfrou. I know my Furfrou is actually a physical defensive, so I was actually afraid that this Rotom would be like modest with many special attacks, but it really isn't. It appears to be a light clay dull screen swap. So I get my Toxic down, he sets up his Reflect. Now I thought, well, he would probably go for his light screen here. Because I wanted to save my Protect, I went for the return here because of that light screen possibility, and he indeed does use the light screen. To be frank, I do not know why, because my Furfrou obviously doesn't have any special attacks, and other than that I only have my Porygon Z and my Chansey. Now of course there's the Porygon Z, but I would think that's way too risky, so I go for another return here. I didn't think he would have Will-O-Wisp, but luckily he misses the Will-O-Wisp, so that's another bunch of hacks here. Now the real fun starts. I can do a Protect here, and he goes for the Pain Split, which I actually thought he would use Pain Split at this point. I was like, well, he doesn't want himself to die, he doesn't have leftovers, he must have Pain Split. So I protect this Pain Split, and then the next turn I was faster, I could return him to death. Now if that Will-O-Wisp would have hit, I'm sure that return would not have dealt enough damage. He switches back to his Raikou and goes for the Aura Sphere, which is the obvious choice here. Deals like more than half damage. I go for the Toxic regardless, because I can just do the residue damage on Raikou, and I really didn't know how things would turn out at this point. I get the Leftovers recovery, and well, the first turn I knew I can protect. The first turn I can protect that. So that happens, I protect, he is Choice Card, so he has to use this Aura Sphere. And I get another Leftovers, but as I went from 182 HP to like 72 HP, I would never survive another Aura Sphere at this point. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go for that Protect anyway, and miraculously Protect succeeds. 50% chance to succeed. So I was really stunned at this point. Now, I knew 105 HP, still not enough to survive an aura sphere. And the toxic damage still going, I have nothing to do but still protect. And somehow, just somehow, third successful protect in a row. So once more the aura sphere fails, once more I get leftovers recovery, and once more Raikou takes more toxic damage. So at this point I thought, well, I probably have enough HP to survive another aura sphere, and I do. So I barely survive another aura sphere and I go for the return at this point, even KOing Raikou with it. I really didn't expect it. I thought it would come down to toxic damage. That was the battle. I hope you all enjoyed it, and please comment, like, subscribe, and